Hi, folks, and welcome to Aches and Games, a relaxed monthly check-in between two slightly older British friends talking life, gaming, and basically whatever other stuff comes to mind. We've got a fun show for you this month, including comparing the game subscription services, our thoughts on Jeanne d'Arc, our play-along pick for August, and the other things that we've been playing. Plus, we'll be announcing September's game and more. But let's start with some quick intros. First up, don't forget, between these episodes, you can find us on Aches and Games, that's ACHES, on Threads, the hellscape that is X, and most social platforms, or on our Facebook page by searching Aches and Games. Or you can email us at achesandgamespod@gmail.com, which I think literally no one has ever done.
Hey.
So be the first. Send us a nice message, or, send us abuse if you like. We probably won't read it. I'm Giles Nicholson. I'm Giles West on most things, including socials, Xbox, and PlayStation 5. Joining me, as always, is my good friend James Hopes. Hi, James.
Good evening, Giles. Thanks for the intro. You always say it's a relaxed monthly check, but it never feels that relaxed when we're preparing for it.
I think it's supposed to be relaxed for the listener, but yeah, good point. I'll change it to a highly stressful monthly check-in.
Beyond stressful. Anyway, my name's James. Hello, for those who don't know me. What am I? You have to laugh on various social media bits, I think, still. I don't use them anymore, really, but there we go. And on the PlayStation Network, I'm Jamesy Boy 78, am I? 1978? 1978. Jamesy Boy 1978, go for that one. The other one's someone completely different. Awful person, the other one. And on Xbox, I'm Jamesy Boy 78 with 4 random digits, as you will remember. But I probably killed that one as well, because I've probably forgotten the code again. And that's it. And I run the Facebook page and the website, which is www.achesandgames.co.uk. I won't spell out Aches and Games because I can assume you can spell. And I won't spell out co.uk because it's just letters. Lovely. Carry on.
Excellent. Thanks, James. I think, was it the month before last, we were trying to record straight after an England game. Last month we were recording in extreme heat, or certainly for our temperate country. And then this month we're recording pretty much last possible minute before we have to upload this. So we have no margin for error, which gives a certain sense of excitement to the recording, but also from my point of view, as I'm the one who's going to have to try and upload this thing, sheer panic, quite frankly. So strap in, everyone. Hopefully this will be a good episode. And James, do you at least remember what you've been doing this month?
No, not at all. Yeah, you said there's no margin for error, and yet we are making so many errors as to almost be untrue. But there we go. We should crack on. So yes, we've been doing some things. What month's it been? It's been August. So yes, summer holidays is a big thing, isn't it? We talked last month about the summer holidays that just started, or we're just approaching, one of the two. So I've been doing lots of gaming stuff with Joshua this month. I also mentioned we'd picked a hotel to go to in Turkey, and that turned out to be a bit of a disaster, unfortunately, because we spunked $3,000 on it, got there, ended up with some kind of food poisoning / gastric flu / near-death experience, and all of us are ill most of the week. So we spend $3,000 to spend a week in a bathroom in a foreign country in the blazing heat. So it wasn't ideal. And that incorporated Sarah's 40th birthday when we were over there. So again, that wasn't ideal because we had planned lots of fun stuff and we couldn't do any of them because Sarah wasn't very well. Joshua was projectile vomiting like the child in The Exorcist. That was quite fun to watch. And I think we managed half a day out of the week when all 3 of us were feeling okay. But that rapidly deteriorated in the evening when we all felt rough again. So it was a shame, really. So it could have been better. We kind of planned the holiday as a relaxing week away from the building work and everything else. But it turned out to be even more stressful and unrelaxing than normal life. So we came back much more stressed, much less relaxed, and cracked straight back into work and building work. So on that topic, which is why I'm half stressed, is because I've just worked 9 straight days at work. So today's my first day off. And after every day at work, I've been doing tiling, flooring, clothing, painting, and everything every day. So I've been doing like 14-hour days every day just to get stuff done. So I'm knackered, which is why, whereas I'm normally incredibly prepared for these podcasts, incredibly prepared, as you can tell, this month, not so much. So Giles is going to hold my hand this month and guide me through it. And I'm going to make some stuff up from the top of my head and appear educated and knowledgeable, even though in reality, I'm far from it. So that was my August in summary. If you talk about your bit, and then I'll come back with some specifics once I can remember some / make some up.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. Just gutted in terms of that's just really crappy timing, isn't it? So very sorry to hear that when you sent a message to us and shared not too graphic versions of those stories. They did sound. It's just one of those things, isn't it? We've got a trip coming up soon, and obviously very paranoid about getting ill. Yeah, we have had a much more relaxing and I'm afraid more successful month by the sounds of it. We had
Good.
a nice trip down to Devon for a weekend, spent some time with Hannah's family. We went to Bristol for the Balloon Festival with Madeline and Scotty, regular listeners. Hi, guys. Which was amazing, actually. Something that Madeline's long wanted to do. Hannah's, I think, wanted to do since she went to uni there a long time ago. Oh, sorry, Hannah, not that long ago. And we also got some luck because the balloons are very, very sensitive. They are the highest of high maintenance. If they were your partner, you might pull your hair out, but they are very sensitive to the weather, and so they can go up. In theory, they go up in the morning and in the evening and fly over Bristol, and it's beautiful. In practice, it's either too windy, not windy enough, or potentially the wrong direction of wind for it to be useful. Whereas we got really lucky because we all saw over two sort of sessions between us, we all saw them floating blissfully over Bristol. So highly recommend that if you get the chance. It feels like a very middle-agedy thing to do, but it was lovely. And, based on our stats, that's the people who listen. That's certainly us. So, yeah, would recommend it to fellow olds.
Yeah, I think most of our listeners are balloon enthusiasts, isn't it? We found out from research. So, yeah,
yeah, we were trawling through that metadata, and yeah, we can't see all your viewing history just in case you are worried and switch off in a panic. But yes, balloons and balloon animals, weirdly. So looking forward to that. And speaking of animals, we also dog sat for my sister's dog for what I think we offered to dog sit for a week, and somehow it became 2.5 weeks because they went to the west coast of America. And rather than sort of sharing the dog sitting with someone else, we took him for the whole time. He came and stayed with us, and I've always been a dog person, but I think more in theory than in practice when I think about it, because it was when I was very young and I didn't have to do all the difficult stuff. So it was really a good try before you buy for potentially getting a dog one day. And it's a bit more practical in terms of all the stuff, all the exciting plans we've got and how to work around that with a dog. But it turned out it was actually really good fun. He was very needy, I'm afraid, so he was a bit like a balloon, actually. He was loitering around wherever he went. But as soon as he left, we miss him quite a lot. So watch this space for probably not very soon, but maybe if we're still podcasting in like 20 years, you'll see a dog jumping around in the background. James looks horrified at that prospect. He's like, I've committed to this for a year, damn it.
I'm also allergic to dogs, as you know. So that's
sugar. Yeah.
Whenever someone gets a new dog, I'm always like, oh, okay, that's a lifetime of hell ahead of me.
Good point. I've got a very bad habit of remembering your allergies, James, as we know very well.
I normally cut people off when they get a dog and just stop seeing them. So yeah, that's bear that in mind for the future.
Okay. All right. Accelerate the dog plans. Got it. Have I stalled long enough for you to jump in, or do you want me to keep going? Oh, keep going. Wonderful.
Yeah.
So, in terms of what we watched, the Olympics, it feels like a lifetime ago, but we watched a lot of Olympics. I think the opening ceremony had been and gone last time we recorded. So we watched pretty much all of the Olympics, completed it, mate, including subscribing to Discovery so that we could, watch the different streams, like the different apparatus at the gymnastics, which I think we actually tried about 3 times and then realised that it didn't have commentary and it was a bit weird. It was like sort of watching someone practice, just very, very tense. But we watched the Olympics. Speaking of sport, I also watched All In. And last year, James and I, AEW All In.
Yes.
I threw you by saying sport. It was supposed to be a wink, but I realised as a podcast that didn't really work. So we saw All In, and Scotty came around to watch that, which was good fun. And I also went to the cinema and saw Alien Romulus, which just another quick recommendation for any listeners, because that was a lot of fun. Otherwise, bits and pieces, I could go on, but I will not unless James needs me to. James, what about you?
No, I think wrestling's a good mix of sports and entertainment, isn't it? So
They do say that.
yeah, indeed. We've watched some things, not massively exciting things. We haven't got back into the bear yet because after we talked about it last time, I said how stressful it was. We've not found the mental stability to get back into the bear, but we will do it at some stage. But we have ploughed back into our other old stuff. There's been another series of Below Deck, a sort of an adventure one, which is half fun. We've also been watching Fire Country, which Sarah enjoys, half due to the cast and half due to the action, so that's been quite fun. And we binge watched the rest of Criminal Minds. We used to watch that in the olden days when we were a bit younger, Criminal Minds, but it came back for another couple of series recently. So we've been binge watching that on Disney Plus, I think. And most excitingly, when you talk about TV stuff, is that we've just erected our 77-inch spectacular TV this afternoon. So I've just spent the last couple of hours putting up a big bracket on the wall and hoping it was secure enough for the TV not to fall straight on its arse within minutes. But it didn't. It looked good. And now we can watch lots of fun stuff on there once we put a sofa in and once we finish off the bits and pieces. So most of our August, as expected, has been dedicated to building work, as I alluded to earlier. So, like I said, I've had to do all the flooring to save some money and do all the tiling myself and do the coving and do all the painting. So we're literally knees deep in all of that stuff. So Sarah is currently downstairs painting a wall whilst I'm doing a podcast. And then when I finish a podcast, we'll then be teaming up to do the wallpapering of the new kitchen diner experience. So very exciting. It's very, very near completion now. So we're doing stuff, and hopefully soon my mum will have her own granny annex to do her own things in rather than being in one of our spare offices. And then eventually, next month's podcast, I might be back in the office rather than Joshua's bedroom with all his Lego stuff on the shelf behind me. So lots to look forward to, hopefully, from that one. And also, just looking forward, we've got a thingy, haven't we, for Sarah's birthday coming up. Not just Sarah's birthday, of course. Obviously, multiple birthdays of equal excitement and importance. So we'll be heading out to a restaurant on Saturday, which would be nice. So looking forward to that one. And the last thing I did was met with Maddie, Reading Football Club, doing a start of season event at the Purple Turtle in Reading every season for the last 2 seasons. So they've done it twice. But every year they announce the new third shirt, which is quite exciting, and have a band playing. So last year it was the Amazons, which is quite a big deal for those who like the Amazons. We saw them live in the Purple Turtle last year for £7 English. That was very bargainous. And this year it was only the Poets. I'm not sure if you heard of them. They're another Reading-based band who played at Reading Festival this year. They're big Reading fans, so they were the band this year. Not quite the level of the Amazons, but they're very good. And they're one of the opening songs when Reading come out at the start of the games now. So again, that's good fun for me and Maddie. So nice time had by all. But apart from that, it's been work, work, work. That was on an old advert, wasn't it? It's not all work, work, work. What's that?
You're asking me to recall something that wasn't 10 seconds ago. It's not going to work. But I do recognise that reference. And listeners, if you're also sort of racking your brain, you've probably got access to Google at this point. So look it up. Drop it in the chat or send it through social media, and it will save us having to berate ourselves for failing to pick that one up. Thank you, James. It does sound like a pretty full-on month, so thanks for sparing the time. I'm sure our listeners are grateful that we managed to record, and hopefully they still will be in approximately 45 minutes' time when we finish. Wonderful. Yeah, we just very quickly on the bear. We watched the first episode and it was quite traumatic.
Yeah.
And we were sort of a little bit reticent to then keep going. And I can completely recognise what you're saying, that there'll be a time and a place. I want to see it, but it's picking the right moment, isn't it, and the right mood. So oh well, we've got plenty of time.
Like I said, you've got to be in a good headspace because it does mentally drain you and take out of you for 40, 50, 52, however many minutes it chooses to be on an episode on Disney+. But it is good, but it's just hard work. And we're not into hard work at the moment after a day of hard work getting paid for another day of hard work not getting paid for. There's no time left for any more hard work. All good.
Pretty fine. Well, hopefully gaming for all of us provides a bit of a release and a bit of an escape from the realities of daily life. And so thinking about what we've been playing this month, should we start with our game of the month? So this month was Jeanne d'Arc, which I will continue to read out. I did mean this isn't the month to do it, James, but I was gonna hand over to you to do this bit in future.
Really?
I probably should have given you a chance to practice. So I'm just gonna read it out. But Jeanne d'Arc, it was your choice, or it was a collective choice. It was a great one, I thought. Really interesting. It's a bit of a curate's egg because it's a PlayStation portable game. It was released in Japan in November 2022. Oops, no, November the 22nd, 2006, which makes much more sense based on what it looks like. And I think you'd mentioned last time it was new to Europe in terms of the localization. So a tactical role-playing game, various sort of fantasy elements, loosely based on the story of Joan of Arc, which I'm sure we'll cover if we have played it, which hopefully we have by the time we get to talk about it in a second. Sort of a tale where history meets fantasy is the way that PlayStation describes it. Fairly straightforward, tactical RPG. What did you think?
Yeah, I think last month you were impressed by my recollection of knowledge about the game and the history of the French and the English in the 100 Years' War, etc. I have played the game. It's quite lucky because you didn't ask me if I had played it before you asked me the question about how was the game. So that was a bit of a risk. I like a bit of riskiness. But yeah, I did enjoy it. It's not a kind of game I've really played before. It's very different in that it's not action-packed per se. So pretty much you start with your village, which is probably called Domremy, possibly, being invaded by some awful English people. The English people have been really bad and co-opted some monsters and demons and the like to fight for them. In history, obviously, in the olden days, the English people had between 5 and 6, 5.5 heroes that forged some armlets, which sounds like amulet, but it's actually an armlet that's on your arm, to defeat the demon army at the time, which is great. But then a few years passed by, the English got a bit greedy and decided to take on the French, and therefore they tried to co-opt the demons onto their side. So they called back the demons they defeated many years ago to fight against the French, which is obviously a bad thing to do because demons shouldn't be teaming up with humans. It's really bad. So when they defeat Domremy, Jeanne is one of the only people left in the village, plus her friend Liane and someone who might be called Roland. Is it Roland? Something like that. So the three of them decide to team up and take on the English. And fortunately, Jeanne comes across one of the armlets that was used by the English to defeat the demons originally, and she starts hearing voices in her head. And it's not because she's crazy, it's because the armlet gives her special powers. So you then take on the role of the three of them and you walk around a bit, you go to different locations and you take on the English and the baddies by doing turn-based fighty stuff. So instead of hacking and slashing, you sort of plan where you're going to move to. You can move a certain number of squares in certain directions and stand in a certain place. And if you're next to a baddie, you can then choose to attack them, or you can choose to wait until the next turn and just sort of defend yourself, or you can choose to cast a spell and heal a colleague, or drop some healing potion on someone's head to make them feel better, or cast a spell on a baddie and sort of blow them up a bit, or shoot some fire at them, or whatever else. So that's the theory of the game. So there's lots of walking between locations, but all the action is pretty much based on this turn-based system, which I actually quite enjoyed, weirdly. Like I said, it's not massively exciting, but it is interesting. It does make you think about how you can defeat the enemies and where you can stand and who you can use, because each of your heroes has got different skills. You meet people along the way that team up with you, and they're good at certain things. Certain weapons, you can stab people over 2 spaces rather than 1 if you've got like a long bow rather than a little swordy thing. So it's really interesting, and there's some nice people you meet along the way. The graphics are a bit weird. I'm sure Giles would agree. It's sort of reminiscent of D'Artagnan from like the 80s/90s, and sort of very much a PSP type graphic, which has been blown up to a massive size screen. So all the graphic negativity you would see, you wouldn't notice on the PSP, but you certainly notice on the PS5, for example. So it's quite old-fashioned. It feels kind of French 1990s animation drama, but very good. And I've only played 4 hours because I've been very busy. So I've only completed chapter 1, but I very much enjoyed it and will happily complete the rest of it. I was surprised to read that it takes about 30 hours in total to complete, which is quite a long time for a turn-based strategy game. But I'm 4 hours in, so it's a start. What do you think?
Interesting. Yeah, I'm just wondering. I don't think I've completed chapter one, which would suggest, although I've played more than 4 hours. So,
Hmm.
but I'll come to that because I got stuck in one place, and
Ah,
you might be that might explain it. Yeah, I thought first impressions, like you said, the sort of blown up onto a bigger screen didn't really do the graphics any favors, or certainly the user interface or the cartoon type elements.
yeah.
Although the game itself, I think, must have been up-resed somehow because it's quite sharp, although the things are quite blocky. So yeah, first impressions made me think that people's eyes have definitely got better. Second impression was exactly like you said, actually. It felt like a Saturday morning cartoon. I went with a medieval She-Ra, but I can definitely
Ah,
see what you're talking about in terms of D'Artagnan, particularly the French thing. The accents I thought were at least consistently terrible, which made me chuckle. You mentioned omelets. Sorry, you mentioned armlets. I
hmm.
heard omelette the first time they were talking
Okay.
about it, and that just amused me for far too long. So I just chose that they were talking about an omelette. And then the English people were just as terribly voiced, which made me chuckle. Yeah, I really enjoyed it as well, up to a point called Swar Valley, I think. I don't know if you remember this one, but I think you might have got past it unless I haven't noticed I've completed chapter one. Because this is one where you have to keep all of your party alive and sort of escape the other side of the
Yeah.
battlefield. And somehow this one, I had a very bad habit of leaving someone, even if had full health, but just were sort of a weaker member of the party, like someone who was there to heal the others, leaving them vulnerable and then just getting picked off, one-shotted and dead. And I don't think I've sworn much more while playing a video game than trying to get through that level until the one time where I did defeat everyone and then headed towards the exit and ran out of moves.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so, so I'd had a clear run to the end of the level. I thought I'd finally got past this sodding forest valley, sorry, and actually then still managed to lose. So at that point, I decided I needed a bit of a breather and got distracted by something else. But
yeah.
yeah, was enjoying it and need to get over myself and get back into it, I think.
It's made me feel good about myself, actually, because I did complete that level and it was okay.
Yeah,
I did take quite a few attempts to do so. So in the end, I split my part into two halves, and one went round to the right, one went round to the left.
I think
And in
that's
the
the
end,
tactic.
yeah, then Talbot, which I think was the English Lord Noble guy who was trying to kill you and was quite powerful. Yeah, in the end, he couldn't be bothered, weirdly. So as you sort of sweep round him, as soon as a couple of people escape, then he just stands on, he can't be asked, just go there.
Oh,
And
right,
then
you
the rest,
didn't kill him.
no, just walk past him.
Oh, there you go.
Too much effort to kill him. So don't kill. It's not all about killing, Giles. It's about
It's my penchant for violence, which I hoisted by my own violent petard.
interestingly, you can't actually kill anyone in the game because it is a Dogtanian replica, and no one really dies, and they just come back to life in the next level. So
Oh,
no one ever really dies, do they? It's just come on
nice.
to the next phase.
It's a good note for the
You
band.
mentioned the accents. You mentioned the accents, if I use a correct word. Weirdly, most of the characters in it are French, but the text sounds normal. Whereas one character appears and then he's got horrific French pronunciation of everything. I couldn't quite work that out. One character you
He's
meet is like says completely different words to everyone else. Everyone else is like English French, and he's just like French French. I couldn't quite get that, but
well, you say he's French. He's like the policeman in Hello Hello, isn't he? It's like he's these, you're, like all that sort of
yeah,
stuff. Yeah, yeah.
didn't really
It was.
understand that. Why he was more French than everyone else, or more fake French? Bizarre. Good game though,
I
good fun.
Yeah, I mean, if he was a baddie, I'd understand it because as soon
Yeah,
as he started talking, I wanted to kill him,
yeah,
or not kill him, as you explained.
yeah,
But yeah, no, he's on your side, or at least he is so far. So yeah,
yeah.
interesting. I wonder if I'll go back to it. I've got to be honest, only
Hmm.
because there's so many other games, and we'll probably get to that. But both in terms of things that I've got on the card, and also coming up because we're getting into busy season. But
Yeah,
you said you thought you would.
yeah, I think I will. I was just annoyed when I read it was going to be 30 hours because for me, 30 hours these days at my age, with so many other things going on, it's quite a long time to finish a game, especially
Yeah.
if it turns out to be fairly samey in every chapter and you just walk around and plan stuff. And not kill people. So yeah, if it's 10 hours, then I'd be much more keen to finish it off because it seems achievable. At 30 hours, that's like a lot of time. If you only play like an hour or two a day, that's like a month's worth of effort to complete a game with annoying French accents. So we'll see. I enjoyed it. I might get back into it. Annoyingly, as I've got older, I feel the urge to complete games now, which is bothering me. When I was younger, I never completed anything at all and really enjoyed them. But now I feel the urge to complete a game, especially now when we talk about it. I like to go away and finish the game. So there we go.
Sorry about that, James.
Yeah.
You may remember one of my New Year's resolutions was to stop finishing games.
Yeah.
So perversely, if I don't go back to it, I'll be very pleased with myself because I'll have broken my addiction or refusal to let it go, basically. I have finished a couple of games, but I've also got a few on the go. Shall I give you one that we've finished?
Yes, do.
So Hannah and I were playing Curse of the Golden Idol last time we spoke, and we've polished that off. Although technically there is an epilogue that we need to complete, but there were more puzzles, more scenes, more levels than I think we both thought. And by the end of it, minor spoiler, but not hopefully too bad, so I will share. There was a really nice sort of final one which kind of connected everything really well. So there's obviously a sort of a thread of a story that's going through the different scenes. So for anyone who wasn't listening last month, you get sort of fairly static kind of scenes of just after someone has died, very sort of retro low res picture of say a ballroom with 5 or 6 people in it, broken glass maybe, and an implement a bit sort of Cluedo, and you're sort of investigating what's happened and have to kind of tell the story. You fill in the words and you sort of you kind of complete the level in that way. But it starts off very, very straightforward. One scene, one screen, and very little for you to fill in. By the end of it, you're filling in a huge sort of detailed story. There's multiple different locations that are all sort of connected, and it's much more complicated. So a good little workout for the brain, really fun to play together. Obviously one person's in charge of the controller, but I'd highly recommend it, and it's on Game Pass, and that's fairly short. So recommend that one, James, if you fancy it.
Yeah, no, definitely fancy it. I've mentioned before, didn't I, about Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, which we started playing and then couldn't continue because we ran out of rooms that weren't full of dust and misery. So now we've got the new TV, and hopefully when we stick the couch now we can finish that one off because I've got the Switch set up in there at the moment just to test it all out. So yeah, we finish that and then move on to the next one hopefully. But yeah, lots to look forward to.
Nice. Anything else you've been playing that you wanted to cover?
So yeah. So I mentioned last month I continued with Animal Well. I've still continued a little bit more of Animal Well. I think you meant to find like 4 flames or 5 flames, and I found 2 flames. So it feels like I'm quite a way into the game now. So I enjoyed it a lot more when I started winning some things. So that's still good. And I've been playing, as I promised, lots of games with Joshua this month. So I said, didn't I, that we had been playing Lovers in a Dangerous Space-Time a bit. So we continued playing that one. That was a fun one where you are little aliens and you control a spaceship between the two of you and you go around shooting things and rescuing bunnies and foxes and stuff. So we still played that, and that's still really good. So again, if you've got kids, I'd recommend that to anyone because it's quite a good family type fun game. And we also got back into Jurassic World Evolution 2 with Joshua, which you hadn't played for a little while. Joshua's very keen on playing awful games like Roblox and Minecraft. So it's nice to get back to a game that we'd actually paid for, and it got some use out of it. So for lots of the last couple of weeks since we got back from our miserable holiday, we've been playing Jurassic World Evolution. We downloaded an extra DLC, the Malta Pack, which gave a new campaign and some new dinosaurs and some new bits. So that was good fun. So we've been spending a lot of time playing that one together over the last couple of weeks. So yeah, Jurassic World Evolution, Lovers in a Dangerous Space-Time, a little bit of Animal Well, and lots of Jeanne Dark because I had to. But apart from that, it's been minor because of so much stuff going on.
Yeah, I think this was always going to be a quiet month for you in terms of free time, wasn't it? So sounds like you've made the most of it. The Jurassic World, is that it's real-time strategy? Is that you're sort of creating a park, or?
Yeah, so Jurassic World Evolution 2 is better than the first one. Okay. Lots of campaigny stuff, so you complete the campaigns. It comes after Jurassic World when the whole Jurassic Park thing falls apart. So this one is about Claire Dearing coming back out with some couple of other geezers and setting up a new park to save dinosaurs. So you go and find the dinosaurs that have been living out in the wild since Jurassic Park fell apart, and you rescue them, put them in a sort of sanctuary area, and then you build a park around it. So you start from
Cool.
scratch again. There's lots of campaigns. There's campaigns in Germany, campaigns in America, and this new campaign in Malta. So lots of different roles to play. But Joshua enjoys the sandbox as well. So the other day he was trying to build the biggest park you can find in the desert using all the desert skinned dinosaurs, and had a great time. And he had also have a park with like 100 T-Rexes in it, because you can turn off certain settings in sandbox mode. So you can make it so that they don't get hungry, they don't get thirsty, they don't fight each other. So you can just stick hundreds of dinosaurs in a park. So he loves it, and I enjoyed it too. So it's good fun.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds like a young person's dream, doesn't it? Just a park full of dinosaurs
Yeah,
rampaging around, but not causing too much problem.
yeah.
Good stuff. I've been slaying monsters in Dungeons of Hinterberg. So I think I mentioned this one last month. This I haven't finished yet, which is annoying. I've found myself sort of accidentally multitasking in games. So the Golden Idol was the only thing we managed to finish this month, and as I said, even that is a little bit of a push. Dungeons of Hinterberg, I'm nearly there. Again, highly recommend it. It really is, particularly in the dungeons themselves. It's a really lovely mix of puzzle and combat, and it's really, I really like the style. It's almost like a sort of slightly abstract comic book. You imagine they'll have sort of speech bubbles around them, and it's very sort of vibrant, very it's a very chilled sort of environment, because she's up in the mountains, apart from fighting the monsters. She's up in the Australian. Oh my gosh, that's a Dumb and Dumber, isn't it? The Austrian Alps. So it's very sort of peaceful in between dungeons, and then a little bit more sort of frantic in the dungeons themselves. And really cool story, because she's a lawyer who's sort of burnt out by lawyering and adulting in general, and has sort of decided to sort of take a bit of a break. And so quite a lot of the time in the game, if you go past a nice scenic spot, you can just choose to sit down and take in the view, which is very nice. So I'm really enjoying it and recommend it. It's the sort of thing that I would have never touched if it wasn't for Game Pass. Would have sounded interesting, but I wouldn't have sort of taken the risk on it in terms of spending money. And I've spent a good few hours in it, and I'm really enjoying it, and I will finish that one. So again, recommend it. And something about those subscriptions, we might come back to that one later on.
Sounds good. If you remind me what we're going to talk about, that'd be great.
I will. Don't worry. Sounded like you'd wrapped up, so I'll just rattle through three other things I've played very quickly, because I played them very quickly in two cases. I played AEW Fight Forever in the build-up to All In. It was a free game on PlayStation Plus Essentials a couple of months ago. I think you, at the time, raised some suspicions that it might be a bit ropey, and you were right. It was still fun, but it was a little rough around the edges. And what really annoyed me about it, though, was it's one of those games that the base game, albeit I did get it free because of PlayStation Plus, the base game actually only comes with a handful of characters of wrestlers, and then everything else is essentially sort of DLC, which just, it was quite annoying, because I was only just trying to have a bit of quick fun and jump into it, and it was quite restrictive. So moving on from that, but that was curiosity, as was Crash Bandicoot, the Insane Trilogy, because it was on Game Pass. Again, I really tried that just because I was finding that between not getting past that Soir Valley level of Jeanne d'Arc, which I'm letting go, although I'm clearly not letting go, and also dungeons being quite consuming in terms of the time, I thought I'd just have a bit of kind of mindless platforming fun, so Crash was that. And then lastly, because again it will tie into the topic, having learnt that Horizon Forbidden West was leaving PlayStation Plus, I think I messaged you, didn't I, and sort of said, do you reckon we can manage to squeeze that in before it goes? That's a 30-hour game, a bit like you said about Jeanne d'Arc. And the answer is clearly no, but I tried anyway. So I decided I would just give it a kind of taster, just to see if I'm ever tempted to buy it in a sale. Did I enjoy it? And I was reminded quite quickly, number one, it's stunning, absolutely stunning. and I really enjoy the world in terms of what it looks like, and it feels alive and vibrant and interesting. The hunting is really satisfying. And then I remembered what happened with the first game, which I did finish, Horizon Zero Dawn, which was I just felt like it became really samey. And that although the world felt alive, there was a lot of trudging around and similar sort of quests. And so I think my sort of 4 or 5 hours with it so far, I want to burn a little bit further through the world because I just wanted to see more of it. Yeah, I'm finding it's scratching the itch, and I don't think I'll need to go back. So I've been a little gaming magpie this month, picking and choosing in little bite sizes. But I'll be back to something a bit more meaty next month, hopefully.
Yeah, annoyingly, I got nowhere near Horizon. I know it was going, and I normally try and play it before they go, but I had so much on that I couldn't give it a go. So I'll give it a go one day when it comes free again. Just going back, though, I was a bit disappointed that you described the people on the AEW as characters, when in fact they are highly trained professional wrestlers and sports people, Giles.
They absolutely are. I apologise, and especially if any of them are in earshot. I know we have a lot of celebrity listeners, and yeah, if MJF's listening, then I'm sure he will roast me on some social media platform, and I would love it, quite frankly. So please do. Right. Just lastly, then, sticking with games, but we talked about our game of the month for August. We haven't talked about our game of the month for September. So,
yes.
Do you recall what it is? And if so, do you want to do the honours, James?
Yes. It's got Age in it. Age of Mythology Retold?
Age of Mythology. Yeah. I mean, I've got it in front of me and I can't say it. So, yes, what he said.
Easy for you to say. So, yeah, it's like Age of Mythology, but it's sort of retold in a modern way. So, it's kind of strategy stuff. Obviously, there's battles and things, and you control armies and stuff. And you set up an empire that you could pick various time frames to do so in. It's kind of my kind of game from the olden days. I've not played a game like that for a long time. But when I was a teenager maybe, I was into those kind of things, sort of those battle strategy games like Age of Empires and all that kind of stuff. So it'd be nice to give it a go again. It's traditionally my type of game. We've just not played that type of game for a long time. So we always try with our game of the month to do something completely different each month. So hopefully this again is something completely different than the previous weird things that we played over the last few months. It's very modern, but based on a classic, but much better than the original. And the previews are all very good. And obviously it came out 2 days ago, was it, roughly speaking?
Yeah.
And when we're recording this, yeah. So brand new, looks good. Day one release, which is nice. And I can play it on my PC because it's on Game Pass. So I'll be on PC, which hopefully I'll move into my new family room soon, and that'll be on a giant screen, which will look quite fun, I think, with all the noises and the battle effects and everything else. So looking forward to it very much. Anything else you want to add, Jay?
No, I thought that was perfect. The only thing I'm curious about, and we'll find out next month, is whether your classics education is going to give you the edge of some kind as you sort of strategize which mythological creature to employ. I think you can kind of co-opt different gods and monsters, can't you? From what I gather.
Yeah, I mean, I can barely remember what happened last week. So if you expect me to remember what was in my original degree from 2000, then you're sadly mistaken. But it's an interesting topic anyway. I always like myth and mythology and that kind of stuff. So even if the game's arse, then the actual theme and the graphics and everything else and the world it creates will be quite fun to explore, I believe, hopefully.
Cool. So yeah, if you're a subscriber to Game Pass, or if you fancy picking up the game and you give it a go, let us know what you think. We will reconvene in a month's time and let you know what we thought of the game. And I've suddenly just thought there might even be a multiplayer element. So if you're not going to thrash me with that, James, maybe we could even have a go against each other and see how that works out.
There's definitely some co-op part, but I can't remember if it was online co-op or couch co-op. It might have been both. I have to have a look into that.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. So that's what we've been playing. Moving on to some brief news bites, which James will react to live because I think he you did get a chance to see this, but I'm not entirely sure you'll have had a chance to really think about it. So it's not been a busy month. I mean, think about it. It's not exactly a peak gaming month over the summer. People are out doing other things, but there's been a few things to talk about. In terms of new games coming to the services, we tend to try and cover that. And there's been a few interesting ones on Game Pass. I've mentioned a few already. Crash Bandicoot. Mafia, the remaster, was added to Game Pass, which looks really good. That was a free game with PlayStation Plus quite a while ago, so I've actually got it on PlayStation as well in the collection. And Atlas Fallen was also added and looked really good. The big news, as so many of you listeners, if you're gamers, will be playing the Black Ops 6 beta. And because James and I have our finger on the pulse, I'm going to take a wild stab in the dark, James, and suggest that neither of us tried it.
No.
No, good. But we will. I mean, I'm excited about the game itself. And I did mark down that it was the beta was last weekend. And I was going to give it a go, but life got in the way, so I didn't. And Age of Mythology, as you mentioned, is one of those first-party day one Game Pass games starting a little run, actually, as a few things get launched over the next month. So it's going to be a busy month. PlayStation Plus, just before James give his thoughts, Quidditch Champions, for any Harry Potter nerds out there, is free with Essential, PlayStation Plus Essential for 30 days. So the base level, the entry level subscription. It's, I think, about 25 quid on other platforms, including Xbox. And it's got fairly mixed reviews from what I saw on PlayStation. But Quidditch, as someone pointed out in a preview that I saw, they've had to change the rules of Quidditch because they are so ridiculous. The Golden Snitch is so OP, as well as getting 100 points, it finishes the game. And if that was a real game or a video game, it would probably make it rubbish. So they've changed it. You get, I think, 30 points, and it doesn't win you the game. So interesting, the sort of nerdy backlash that might create. You don't get excited about a Quidditch game, and then I'm sure your pitchforks might be out if if the developers have meddled with the rules. But the one I'm really looking forward to is Plucky Squire, not Plucky Spire. That's a different thing, which is on Extra and Premium day one on the 17th of September. And do you know about this at all, James?
No, I know it's coming out, but I haven't even looked into it at all. I looked into Quidditch Champions because Josh would be very interested in that one. And I looked into the Major League Baseball The Show, which is the other game that's out at the moment. But that's the Plucky Squire one is the one I didn't look into. So please do tell me about it.
Interesting. Well, yeah, actually, on Essentials, the other game, I think it's Little Nightmares 2, which is also brilliant. I've played that one. Yeah, Plucky Squire is, I thought it was coming to Game Pass, so it's a real get for PS Plus. But it's a sort of 2D kind of little adventure on a person's scrapbook. So it's really stylized, looks really cool. But then the characters can also come out of that world into the, I guess, bedroom and house of the person that is sort of reading through the scrapbook. It just looks absolutely adorable, and we will get to another adorable platformer very shortly. But I'm a big fan of something like that. Again, partly just to break up the other sorts of, we mentioned, all the darkness and misery that we might be playing, partly because you tend to be able to play it in a much more sort of bite-sized chunks, and partly just because it looks really cool. It looks really striking in terms of the sort of style, but also it looks genuinely, and the previews have been really positive, so look out for that one. Lastly, Star Wars Outlaws was released, which I was excited about. Mixed reviews, mostly positive, but again, I can't think when I'm going to have time to play this game. And my intention was to subscribe to Ubisoft Plus for a month and play it, essentially for cheap. But I think I'm going to have to schedule it in for like February or something, by the looks of how this is going. James, your heart looked like it sank as soon as I mentioned Star Wars Outlaws. Was that just murmuration? Should I call someone?
I'm still in one piece just about.
That's good.
No, Joshua played the last two Star Wars games very much so, and was very keen on the last two. He's not mentioned this one as yet, weirdly. I don't think he knows it's coming out, which is probably fortunate. It's
Interesting.
about 60, 70 quid's worth of game. Weirdly, in the reviews, some people said it's awesome and the graphics are amazing, the gameplay is really good, and it's quite a traditional Star Warsy type game. But a lot of people have moaned about the looks of the main character, which is always a bit disappointing. And it sort of reminds you how nerdy some people who like games are when the most important thing to them is how attractive the main character is. But some people said it's awful, some people said it's good. We'll definitely give it a go at some stage, mainly for Joshua's benefit, and I'll give it a go as well, but probably not quite yet because it's a lot of money, so might wait till Christmas and get it for him.
Sounds like a good Christmas option, maybe.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Last thing I wanted to mention on news is that just by sheer coincidence, because we're recording the day before this podcast will come out on Friday, the 6th, which is the day that Astrobot is released. And I don't know if you've seen, James, we were both taken by it in terms of the trailer, I think, and the previews have looked good. But have you seen the reviews? Because they are spectacular.
Spectacularly good.
Spectacularly good, yeah. So the reviews, I think, have all sort of started to land today. And not that the aggregators are necessarily the be-all and end-all, but on Metacritic it is currently at 95 from over 100 reviews. So that is, as they say, universal acclaim. But it also means, if you go down the scores, there's a couple of outlets that have given it an 8, which is still a very good score, but mostly 9s and 10s, and people talking about it as a masterpiece. So very excited by that.
I've been looking forward to it for a while because, like I said, when the PS5 came out, when we first bought the PS5, obviously it was secondhand, it wasn't when it came out because that was ridiculous. Then the Astrobot game that came on the PS5 was awesome. And I said before, it showed the spectacular features of the PlayStation controller, which is excellent, even though Giles hates it for no apparent reason.
I liked it in that.
Good, that's right. That was great. And obviously, I mentioned the previous Astrobot game on the PSVR was one of the games that really exploited the potential of virtual reality at the time, which is quite rare. So, yeah, my two experiences of Astrobot have been excellent so far. So we've always been looking forward to this one. We talked about it last month and it was coming out on the 6th, which it is now coming out. So we'll definitely get hold of that one. Hopefully it will appear at some stage, some subscription service in the future. I'm also tempted by that controller because the controller does look pretty sweet with a nice navy blue and the whiteness and the little eyes at the top. So yeah, when that becomes available on eBay at some stage in the future, I'll probably grab that as well. But yeah, it looks awesome. Joshua will love it and we'll probably love it too. Just nipping back on that kind of thing, as I also did a review of Ratchet and Clank finally. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, which we talked a lot about in the first few episodes. I was stuck on a plane trying to get home from my holiday from hell. And for whatever reason, there was no air conditioning on this flight, and it just sat on the tarmac for like an hour and a half before we took off. And I was so miserable that I put it in airplane mode and just wrote in Word a review of Ratchet and Clank so I could upload it later. So that sort of cleared my mind at the time. And just a reminder, it's a great game. It got lots of views at the time when we posted it on Reels, so we know lots of people like Ratchet and Clank. So if you want to see a review of Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, please do have a look at the website, www.akesandgames.co.uk, and go to the reviews section with some great reviews on it. Do continue. Apologies.
Excellent. No, I'm all for a bit of Ratchet and Clank. I really enjoyed it, and I'm all for plugging the website. So well done. Appreciate it. Right. Well, I'm going to make an executive decision to keep us on time. So there were a couple other topics we could cover, but nothing essential. Let's jump to our main topic of the month. So we've sort of led into this a few times, not by coincidence. There is some planning that goes into these episodes. If you don't believe us, ladies and gentlemen, I'll even show you my little script. But with Horizon leaving this month, that was a bit of a shocker. I certainly thought as a PlayStation first party big title, it was probably there forever. But PlayStation have done this before, so I should have known better. I suspect they'll replace it with one of the others. I really hope it's God of War Ragnarok, but that's just me. But it's a reminder PlayStation Plus is doing something very different to Game Pass. I mentioned Critics' Champion being on Essential rather than on one of the higher tiers, Plucky Squire on Premium and Extra. At the same time, Game Pass got a big price increase and they made their tiers more complicated in the last month or so that no one seems to understand them. But they have also got that string of AAA games coming out. We mentioned Age of Mythology has dropped. It's a bit more of a niche genre, but Stalker 2, Call of Duty, and Indie, and then Avowed are all coming in the next few months. So they're quite different. And I thought let's have a conversation and a bit of a chat about what we like and what we don't like about each of the two subscriptions. And I say two, James. I'm assuming, but I might not be right, that I think you subscribe to Game Pass and to PlayStation Plus, right? Is there anything else you subscribe to in terms of gaming subscriptions?
No, well, not intentionally. You get some free games with Amazon Prime.
Yep.
Because we're with Amazon, so you get like 2 or 3 free PC type games on that one. And you get occasionally some nice bits on there, which we've added to my ridiculously long queue that I never get around to playing until I die. So that's pretty pointless. But no, obviously Steam, I get a lot of games on the PC from Steam, but that's not a subscription service. You pay individually for the games there. And we're also part of the Nintendo eShop, I think it's called. We're not signed up to a subscription service on there, but there are lots of bargain games on there as well for the Switch. So lots of different subscription services. There's Epic Games as well, which I mess around on every now and again, and they do some occasional offers. So there's a few bits and pieces around, but the main ones for me are the Xbox and the PlayStation ones.
Nice. And you're the top tier of both, aren't you? You're Ultimate for Game Pass and whatever the hell the top one of PlayStation is. I always get them mixed up. Extra?
Still premium. Still premium, yeah.
Premium. Got it, okay.
Extra's a middle one. So yeah, we're top tier on both, but mainly because of, originally when the PlayStation one came out, obviously PlayStation Now was different than the current tiering system. So at that time I was on a cheap one because you got the occasional game that you could play, and I only really got it so you could play online with people and things. But when the new one came out, I went for the bottom tier, but then I noticed it going cheap on eBay. Someone was flogging off their premium subscription for 2 years for cheap. So I signed up for that one because you probably remember at the time that when they were selling PlayStation 5s, it came with like 2 years free premium subscription service. So lots of people who already had the service sold off that part to make the cost of the PlayStation cheaper. So they flogged off their subscription service on eBay, and I was one of the people that bought it. And I was a bit worried at the time that it might not actually work, but it worked fine. So I've got 2 years for, I think it's about 90 quid at the time, which considering the price now is ridiculously cheap. So I've not really thought about it for the last 9 months now. It just sort of happens.
Nice. And do you pay for Game Pass Ultimate then on the Xbox side?
Yeah, but again, it's got another 2 year cheapo deal from somewhere that I can't remember. So yeah, you can also mount them up, can't you? So if you get as an offer on certain times a year on certain things, so you can get it cheap for 3 months, and then you sort of it piles on top of your existing 2 years away. So I think both our Xbox and PlayStation account are about 2.5 to 3 years away of needing to pay for it again because I've already bought it all up front.
Nice. Well, a very timely reminder, actually, to anyone listening that Xbox are going to nerf that a little bit. So you're only able to stack 13 months from the 12th of September. So a few days after this episode drops. Obviously, if you've already got subscriptions stacked up, they will still exist and you won't have to, you won't have those taken away. So if you do find any cheap deals in the next few days, guys, I would highly recommend you stock up going forward. And yeah, James, I'm the same. I didn't get quite such a good deal on PlayStation Plus Premium. There we go. I'm finally learning. But I did get an offer, and I don't think I'd be on Premium necessarily if it wasn't for that. I think I would go for the middle one, the extra.
Yeah.
But I think I paid about 90 quid for 1 year. But on the Xbox side, I wanted to highlight that I've barely paid for it at all in the last few years, and I'm also stacked up for another 2, and that is because of Microsoft Rewards. So if people don't use that, it's been gradually getting less and less generous. But by doing things that will make you feel a little bit icky, like having to use Bing every now and again, you can rack up the points on, or just by playing games on the system, you can rack up the points, and you can use those, or you certainly could, to get Game Pass Ultimate subscriptions. And it was working out roughly 1 month for 1 month, the way I was doing it. So I was getting free Ultimate for a while. So just as a sort of intro to the topic, both of us, neither of us are paying full price. But that said, what do you think about the value of both services, James, in terms of what we do pay?
Yeah, so I think I wouldn't necessarily have got them both, and I wasn't intending to get them both. Traditionally, we were an Xbox household, and then Joshua kind of took it over, and then with the building work and everything going on over the last year, the Xbox and PlayStation separated themselves into different rooms. So he carried on playing the Xbox and I moved on to the PlayStation because it was cheaper on eBay and I went for it. So previously we only had the subscription for Xbox and then the really low tier for PlayStation in case anything came out. So it was only when we moved apart that I decided to get the premium for the PlayStation when I saw it cheap on eBay. So now we both treat them completely separately. So yeah, in an ideal world, I wouldn't pay for both, but now we've started paying for both and we've got 2 years ahead of us, then it makes sense. And obviously the games are always completely different. It gives a good variety of stuff that comes up regular basis. I haven't generally bought any games now for the last couple of years because of the subscription services. I always used to rely on buying physical copies rather than actual digital stuff. But since I've been on those, it just works out much more effective now to see a game you like and download it, stick it in your library. If you've got a spare hour every few months, then you can just pick one out of your library rather than buying new games. So for me, it's a really good method of doing it because you don't have to invest like 70, 80 quid at a pop to play a new game. You either play one of the new games that's on a subscription service or you play an old game that's on a subscription service or dig something out of your library. So for me, it works nicely. I don't find it that expensive for what you get out of it. And obviously I've been quite protective in the price increase over the last year because of buying in advance. But yeah, for me, it's okay, I think.
Yeah, I think I'd second that. I didn't intend to have both, and I had Essential as well, or PlayStation Plus as it was back then. And I've actually got quite a good library through PlayStation Plus Essential racked up over the years. So actually, even if I did cut back down, say those are to keep forever while you're subscribed, right? Say if I kept the basic subscription, I could easily play quite a good variety of games for a very long time just with that. So that's always at the back of my mind. I certainly have more than I could possibly play, more choice, loads more exciting things to do, but not enough time. So I sort of was thinking myself before last year, actually, I was thinking about going back down to Essential, and it's really probably partly because of the pod that I decided to renew, and I'm really glad I did because things like Jeanne d'Arc, which was a very kind of obscure old game from sort of PlayStation history, and I had some gaps in my PlayStation ownership. It's really cool to go back and sort of be able to try those out. And at the moment, based on if I could renew the deal, then I think I would go again. But certainly, there's certainly so much in either of them that they could keep you quite busy, aren't they? And in terms of the differences, though, so do you have any views on sort of each of their biggest strength? That's quite a tough one to put you on the spot if you haven't had a chance to prepare.
My word, Giles. Jeez, it's not getting easy, this podcast, is it?
Yeah, packed from
certainly
watch out.
the Xbox one seemed to have more day one releases and big games, so that's always fun. PlayStation one, as you move up to the premium bit, you get a lot more classic stuff now, which is nice. So you didn't used to get much classic stuff, but as you mentioned, you can now play a lot more older games. So they introduced quite some regular classics on PlayStation Premium now, which is good. Also, the PSVR 2 stuff I said was kicking off on Premium now, which it never used to. So that's another big bonus, which obviously you don't get on Xbox because they don't really have a VR capability on there. And some of the demos as well can be kind of useful. I've never got time to play any new games anyway, so I'm not that interested in the demos. But the demo part for the big new release games on PlayStation are quite useful as well. So generally, being I always play on the PlayStation, I find that one much more interesting. And for me, I only ever use the Xbox subscription to play games on my PC because obviously Josh was always on the PlayStation. It's good for him. Whenever he gets bored and runs out of games to play, we just go through the Xbox Game Pass store together and download like 5 or 6 new things for him to give a go for an hour. So it's nice to have that opportunity to test a game out for an hour. If it's crap, just delete it again and download something else, which obviously in real life, if you spent 30, 40 quid on a game and it's crap after now, you'd be really disappointed. But on Game Pass, you're not disappointed because you can just ditch it again and pretend it never happened. So great for him. The PC element's really good for me on Game Pass. But for the PlayStation bit, I just really enjoy the classics and some of the big new releases, but also the PSVR 2 stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the funny thing is that the back end of PlayStation, the streaming side, so what used to be PlayStation Now, and I think that's locked behind either the extra or the premium tier. the quality of it, I think, is better than the Xbox streaming,
Mm.
despite actually the back end is run by Microsoft. It's now an Azure platform, and I thought for a while that was because Microsoft were desperately trying to pretend they were awful at everything, so that the various competition authorities would let them buy Activision. But it's kind of been long enough now. I think it is just that they really haven't put the investment in, or don't see it as a priority. So I think if anyone's streaming games, and with the PlayStation Portal, I think it is,
Mm.
which is like a streaming handheld, I'd imagine if you've got the subscription, that's really useful. But yeah, for me, the PlayStation Essentials plus Essentials is the real value, and then just the fact that, sorry, fellow Xbox owners, but a lot of the PlayStation first party titles, especially over the last probably 10 years or so, ever since really Uncharted and sort of on from there, which I'll probably find out is 20 years because that's sort of how time works at my age. There've just been a lot of great games, and we introduced, or you introduced, Scotty to the Last of Us series, and those, being able to go and discover those older games, whether through the subscription if they're on there, or sort of just through picking up the back catalogue. I think that's PlayStation's strength. Whereas I'd agree with you on Game Pass, the day one stuff, it's sort of been a sort of tantalising promise for many years, for a long time. And it feels like it really is just starting to kick in, hence probably why they ratcheted up the price. But yeah, especially with some subscriptions bagseed and banked for the next month, year and a half, or 2 years, there's going to be a lot of good games. And I find myself more excited by the announcements and the new releases on Xbox because I know that I'm going to be able to play them. Whereas we mentioned Astro, I'm really looking forward to playing it, but it won't be for probably a couple of years until it's in the sale, or on the subscription service. So I think that's the difference for me, that I certainly find myself using the Game Pass a little more, but I'm increasingly split between the two. And yeah, that's partly thanks to the pod. So discovering some new stuff, which is great.
Yeah, and ideally, if you can have both, then even better, because then you got like 10 decent games per month for effectively free because you've already paid for them to play around with. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. And if I didn't have the subscription services, I'd certainly have a lot fewer games in my library.
which sounds like it's a sad thing, but it does get to the point where it's quite overwhelming, isn't it? Just quickly, I mean, a bit of a odd thing to end on, but I just wondered if there's any sort of downsides to the subscriptions, and I think we might have covered them in our pluses, because you said you barely buy anything new anymore. Is that right? Or you barely buy anything anymore?
Yeah, the only time we'd buy a new game is if Joshua asks for something for his birthday or Christmas.
Yeah.
That's not on a subscription service. It also feels a bit sort of cheap if he asks for a game and it's on a subscription service. It doesn't actually cost any money to buy him the game. It's nice. Like Quidditch Champions is keen on, but it doesn't cost any money. So
Amazing.
yeah, you feel like a bit of a fraud, but it's nice. Yeah. So there's not many downsides apart from obviously the fact it costs a load of money on a monthly basis, and if you haven't got a load of money, then obviously it's not so good. And the fact that, like I said, you probably taste a lot of games, and if you'd actually paid the money, you'd probably put more effort into getting past the initial shock and actually giving it a good go and probably enjoying it. Whereas if you find a game on Game Pass and you don't enjoy it straight away, then you can just ditch it. So you might be missing out on a load of good games because you're not putting the effort in because you've not paid any money for it. So you like, give it 10 minutes. That's a bit crap. Let's ditch it. When in reality, 5 hours down the line, it could be your favourite game ever if you'd actually paid some money for it. So there we go.
There you go. That's why, James, we commit to playing 4 hours of our game of the
At
month.
least 4 hours.
At least 4 hours, which was slightly arbitrary, but I think has proven itself exactly right on the money. Yeah, I think the only thing I sort of wonder about the developers of particularly smaller games who don't get in the subscription services. I was thinking about this earlier. You mentioned Lorelei, and I was trying to go back through well, my brain, but through previous episodes, trying to sort of note down some of the things that you'd mentioned that sounded interesting that weren't on the subs. And I just haven't, I just don't have the bandwidth or ever really see myself getting to them, which is quite a shame. Switch is the different different case really, where if you're away from home, then that's a great opportunity to play something on the Switch, and that means that something like Lorelei is definitely high on my list because I could take it with us. But I think it was Indica you mentioned, which was a sort of freaky looking, completely
Crazy Nun
my
game.
sort of thing. And I had a look for that it's on Xbox, but it's on sale, and I've got some credit, and so it only cost me about £7. And then I looked at it and I just thought, yeah, but I've already got so many things backed up. Why would I buy it? So I think that's maybe a downside, and it must be if you think about the sort of power dynamic there. A small indie developer going to Microsoft, they're not going to get a good deal, I think, going forward. And the same to PlayStation, although the subscription service, I think, is less part of their strategy at the moment. I just a little concerned for the small developers who don't get included in their subscription and whether they get lost.
Yeah, I think if you make a Russian nun game that hears voice in the head, it's probably niche.
Yeah, that's fair. I suppose you're not sort of focus group friendly, really. There, that's true. That's a bit excellent. Right. Well, from my point of view, James, that is the show, and we are in real danger of delivering an hour-long episode this month. I mean, if I had any time to edit this, I would get it down to an hour. But was there anything we didn't cover that you wanted to?
Yes. Loads, hours of stuff.
Go for it.
I wanted to quickly say thank you to Maddie, who listened to the whole episode last month, despite the fact she doesn't enjoy games. She listened to the whole thing and enjoyed the whole thing. So thanks, Maddie.
Hey,
Hopefully you've made it through. Hopefully you've made it through this far again. If you haven't, you won't hear me saying this part, but if you have, then you will. So that's great. And I wanted to also quickly mention that Ant Stream is coming to the PlayStation 5. It's not been on PS5 before. So that's a retro game service. I have hundreds of retro games all the way back from the Spectrum and all kinds of genres, including PlayStation from the past. So there's literally hundreds of games on there. I think it's going to be £40 a month or a £90 lifetime fee. So if you pay 90 quid, you got a lifetime subscription to every vintage game that comes on there, and they regularly update them. So that look quite fun. So in the future, when we've been running an old person's gaming podcast, that might be quite fun to talk about if one of us gets a subscription at some stage over the next few months.
Yeah, I think it might be £14 a year. Or like you said, 90 for life.
Yes.
That sounds more like it.
That's all
right. I was trying to be nice, but I was like, I mean, someone in the comments is getting very angry. But yeah, I had a look at it because it was discounted on Xbox fairly recently. And again, I had the same mental process, unfortunately. I was like, yeah, but you're not playing these things. I did have a Nintendo Switch Online subscription, so I had retro stuff through the Switch for a while. But it looked great, and it included things like Horace Goes Skiing and Manic Miner and all the classics. So yeah, very interested if you do get that, James, and good shout. Good to hear.
I did mention in the olden days when I was little on the Spectrum, I never ever finished any games. I enjoyed playing them, but I never finished a game ever. So it'd be nice to go back to play some retro games of some old classics I used to really enjoy and see if I can actually finish them with my increased abilities and skills as an adult.
Sounds good. Well, if you get it, then I'm going to just feel the peer pressure. So either do it and don't tell me, or maybe I'll just crack. Actually, that sounds good. Excellent. Well, thank you. That was well worth the little sidebar. But yeah, as long as that's everything, that's the show for us. You sound like you've got some wallpapering to do. I don't want to be responsible for any excuses for leaving Sarah to have to do it by herself. Thank you, listeners. As always, we'd love to hear from you. We're really keen to hear what you think about the show. If you're playing along with our monthly game, please do let us know what you think of them. Any ideas for topics, anything like that. Please remember to like and subscribe to the podcast. Consider giving us a 5-star review. That does help. We are edging our way up our followers on various social media. So give us a follow. That would be great. If you want to follow us on X for the remaining time that we're there, because it feels like it's in a horrific death spiral, then feel free. But I think we're probably mostly on Threads and the Facebook page, obviously at the website, which is akesandgames.co.uk. James, is that the one?
Yes.
And as I said, you could be the first emailer to akesandgamespod@gmail.com if you so desire. So first emailer doesn't get a prize, but the 13th emailer will get a prize. So good luck being the 13th. I'm Giles Wentwest. I'm Giles Nicholson, actually, in real life, but Giles Wentwest on most things. And James, can you round us out for the episode?
Yeah, usual. James Hopes, hi, nice to meet you. Glad you've listened this far, and congratulations. I barely made it through this far, so well done for your display. You have to laugh on social media, and please do pop along to the Facebook page for some more cracking memes. And on the website, we'll be putting a Jeanne dark review on there soon, no doubt with my comments and then Giles's at some stage. So please do check out the reviews. They are good fun and quite short, which is great. So thanks again, and we'll see you all next month. Probably the first Friday of the month, isn't it, Giles?
I've got nothing to say now, James. Absolutely. See you, everyone. Take care.
Bye.